Great names for dogs. In this story, the dog is called Circo, and Circo was an old dog. And the miller who owned him believed that he was good for nothing anymore. For Circo was as slow as anything. He could no longer catch rats around the mill, the rats that came in to eat the flour and the corn. His eyesight wasn't very good anymore. His hearing had almost gone, but he still had a keen sense of smell. But the miller decided that Circo was no use, so he drove him away from the mill and into the woods beyond. When Circo entered those woods, he was afraid, for he was a dog. He'd never had to fend for himself before. He'd only had to take the food that the miller had provided for him. It grew dark, and as he walked between the trees, his heart started to beat fast. It was eerie. And between the trees, he started to smell something, a familiar smell. With his keen sense of smell, with his sharp nose, it was a familiar smell and yet a little bit strange. And closer it came until he found himself face to face with a creature with a long, shaggy snout and sharp, bright eyes. It was a wolf. Now, why a creature tame and mild should make his way into my wild? Circo told the wolf his story, how he had been driven away from the mill. If you drive me from the mill, they'll welcome you back. I'm sure they will. Circo spent the night in the forest with the wolf, and in the morning he set off back to the mill. He came back and he hid beyond the wall, and now the wolf came, padding his way towards the mill, and with one swift leap he was over the wall and outside the miller's house, where the miller's wife had put their baby in a cradle. For fresh air. Well, the wolf came closer, sniffed at the baby, and then opened his jaws wide and took the baby in his jaws, and then turned round and back with a leap over the mill wall. Now, Circo started to bark. I wonder if you know how to bark. Louder than that! He barked so loud that the miller and his wife came running out of their mill house, and there they saw Circo, and he was chasing the wolf, who was carrying their baby. Our baby! Our baby! Bring her back! But the wolf was fast, but Circo was faster. He leapt upon the wolf's back. There was a tumbling. There was dust. There were tails and teeth and ears and snouts. And finally, it was Circo that won. The wolf loped on towards the trees and into the forest, and Circo carried the baby back towards the miller and his wife, and there they were. The miller's wife took the baby in her arms. My child is safe. The miller embraced Circo. Oh, my dog, my faithful hound, you have saved our child. You are a hero. Tonight we will have a great celebration. All the village will be invited. Well, Circo thought about that, and he realised that he owed a debt to the wolf, because had the wolf really been fighting with Circo? Or was it just a pretend fight?
A pretend fight.
It was only a pretend fight. Really, the wolf had been helping him, hadn't he? He had let Circo win. So Circo went to the edge of the forest and he called for the wolf, and the wolf came and he said, "Wolf, tonight you will be my guest of honour." Night came and he led the wolf back towards the mill, the store where the great celebration was to happen. And the wolf came in and hid under the longest table. There was no one arrived yet. But soon the guests started to come, the villagers. And among the villagers, with all their roast meats that they brought with them, there were all sorts of meats. There was roast chicken, roast roast lamb, roast beef, that's right, and
roast gammon.
Roast gammon. All sorts of good meat. All sorts of good meat. And the baker baked a fine loaf of bread using flour that was ground in the mill. Look at that. Would you be so kind, baker, to cut up the bread? Well, the meat was shared. And Circo took meat under the table. He took bread under the table to the wolf, and the wolf started to eat. For the wolf was lean and hungry, and the wolf ate fast. Well, soon the villagers were enjoying the meat and the bread too. And they all started to sing the song that they sang. And this is a song from far off in the east, from a country called the Ukraine. And this is the song they sang. And perhaps you can help me. Are you ready? Okolo, okolo. Except they sang it with joy and smiles and louder. Ready? Okolo. And again. Okolo. Well, they all sang, and the wolf stopped eating. And the wolf said to Circo, "My stomach has stopped rumbling. I've had enough. Now let me sing." "No," said Circo, "don't sing. I will bring you more meat and more bread." And he went out and he fetched more meat and more bread from the villagers. Well, the villagers could enjoy the meat and bread. And Circo could enjoy them. But more than anyone else, it was the wolf that enjoyed that good food. And now the wolf was starting to get fat and heavy, and his lips were greasy with all the meat that he had eaten. The villagers continued to sing. Are you ready? Okolo and okolo. And as they sang, the wolf stopped eating. "I've devoured and swallowed everything. I've had enough. Now I will sing." And the wolf started to sing as only wolves know how. Do you know how wolves sing? Yes, you do. He lifted his snout up under the table and he howled like this. And again. Well, the villagers were amazed. They were shocked. There was a wolf in the store. They tipped over the tables and jumped up. They took their meat knives and they advanced upon the wolf, ready to cut him. But the wolf hadn't even noticed. His eyes were closed, his snout was in the air, and he continued to howl. Circo, what could he do to save his friend, the wolf? He bit the wolf's tail. The wolf sprang into air, his eyes were open, and out of the storeroom he ran, out of the door, and Circo went after him, yelping and barking, out after the wolf, and all came the villagers after, and they were bearing their knives. But the wolf was fast, even though he'd eaten so much, for Circo was behind him and snapping at his tail, and the wolf ran between the trees and into the forest with Circo going behind. And there in the trees, Circo stopped, snout to snout, with the wolf. And he looked at the wolf, and the wolf looked at him, and Circo knew that he would never see Cousin Wolf again. And Cousin Wolf looked at Circo and said, "Your world is tame. Your world is mild. I choose hunger. I choose wild."